Because we've got an attorney general of the United States who literally thinks her job is to be the president's lawyer and to do whatever the president wants her to do.
What you just witnessed was Congressman Jamie Raskin exposing the decay at the core of the Trump administration. Then he charged Attorney General Pam Bondi with shredding her oath to the Constitution, serving instead as the president's personal attorney. This wasn't a mere partisan clash, it was an indictment of a profound betrayal of American democracy.
And thinks that the Department of Justice is the law firm for the president and his political party.
For months, state attorneys general from across the nation have been pushing back against what they describe as a relentless attack on the rule of law. They've watched as Pam Bondi's Justice Department has been warped into a political weapon. Now they're in Congress, testifying under oath and pulling back the curtain for the world to see. But what exactly is this staggering distortion of American history? And how has Pam Bondi been caught breaking the law? Believe me, the details are even more explosive than you imagine.
So, although it's indisputable that all of you are Democrats, I don't think you're here to represent the Democrats or the Democratic Party of your state. And I just wonder if you would say a word about what it means to you to be an attorney general and to try to act on behalf of the rule of law and not a political program. Perhaps Attorney General Raoul, if you'd start.
Thank you for that question. I serve as the Attorney General of the state of Illinois, and in Illinois, I am independently elected from the governor, and by way of that, I serve the rule of law.
Loyal to the rule of law, not the president. That's the core principle Pam Bondi has utterly cast aside. As Illinois Attorney General Raoul made clear, his duty is to the law, above all else, even when representing the governor. This is the foundation of our entire legal system. Watch this.
I don't serve the governor. I do represent the governor. I represent the agencies within state, but I serve the rule of law. And I take that distinction very seriously. And I think that the U.S. Attorney General should operate with the same sort of, she shouldn't be loyal to the president, but she should be loyal to the rule of law. That does not mean you're not representing the government and the administration, but you have to do so within the bounds of the rule of law, and we take that very seriously.
Is there any one of you who would describe your job as being the governor's lawyer? Exclusively, and anyway, okay.
He makes clear that while he represents government agencies, his ultimate duty is to the rule of law. He warns the Attorney General must never act as the president's personal lawyer, and stresses that loyalty must always stay within legal limits. But Pam Bondi plays by a different set of rules, where loyalty to Donald Trump eclipses everything else. This isn't just a clash of perspectives, it carries real-world consequences, hurting millions of Americans no matter their party. Massachusetts Attorney General Andrea Campbell laid out exactly how.
Similar in Massachusetts, elected by the people, and I'm accountable to the people in upholding the rule of law and protecting their rights and protecting our state's economy. I would just stress, and I think the NIH case, which we were all a part of, whether it's the first case or even the second iteration of that case, to protect access to these critical life-saving medical research, clinical trials. This is billions of dollars that go to every state in the country. We came together not looking at, okay, how do we just protect those who are Democrats or identify as Democrats in this country?
Andrea Campbell says her duty is to the people, not to any politician. She emphasizes that defending rights and safeguarding the economy means protecting everyone, not just one party. She recalls how they fought to preserve billions in life-saving medical research, yet Bondi sided with Trump instead of patients. So if every state attorney fights for people's lives, why was Pam Bondi fighting for Trump's image?
In this country, we came together recognizing the unlawful actions by this administration to cut that funding. In NIH won quickly on a Friday night and mobilized to show up in court on Monday because we knew what was at stake. When you talk about a child having pediatric cancer or a vet dealing with PTSD, we don't look at whether or not they have a D or an R by their names. We mobilize to advance that litigation to protect the public health, not even only of those folks in our state, but to protect the public health of everyone across this country while at the same time upholding the rule of law. And I think it's just a great example of a great example of how we do our work regardless of political affiliation or even demographic.
Did you catch that? When the Trump administration under Bondi's DOJ moved to slash billions from life-saving medical research, these attorneys general didn't stop to ask the party affiliation of the cancer patients who would suffer. They sued anyway, because their duty was to the law, not to politics, and that's the heart of the problem. Pam Bondi's DOJ kept disregarding laws passed by Congress. Instead of defending the people, she chose to follow the president's whims. That left state AGs in the surreal position of suing the federal government, not for power, but simply to make it obey its own laws.
Well, thank you for doing that. And Ellison and Plotkin, let me just twist the question a little bit. One of the things you guys are doing is defending the integrity of federal laws and programs that we've adopted. And because of the very restrictive standing rules that the court has imposed against Congress going to court to try to get our laws implemented, in a weird way, you're standing up for the laws that we've participated in passing. But that's for all of the people, because after all, it's your representatives in Congress who voted for them as well. But I wonder if you could just reflect a little bit on that role you're playing in terms of making federal law work for everybody in the country as a state attorney general.
Jamie points out that state attorneys general are often the last line of defense for federal law. But then he underscores something striking. When Congress can't enforce its own laws, attorneys general step in on behalf of the people. Their loyalty lies with every citizen those laws were written to protect, not with any one politician. So why was Pam Bondi defending Trump's agenda instead of defending the very laws meant to safeguard Americans?
Chairman Raskin, we regard the laws that Congress passes as fundamentally the prerogative of the people who populate this country and send members to Congress. And so for an executive to usurp the role of Congress in appropriations or establishment of agencies or anything like that, we view as an outrageous overreach that simply cannot be tolerated. As I noted in my comments, the things that the president is trying to do, you probably can do if you follow the rules.
An outrageous abuse of power. That's the reality of the Trump administration's actions. He concedes. A president can act, but only if bound by the rules. Yet that's not what's happening. Instead, the president, backed by Pam Bondi, is trying to govern by decree, as if he were a king, not a president. This isn't a matter of policy differences. It's about a president and an attorney general who believe they stand above the law. Don't miss this.
If you follow the rules, but you cannot do it vis-a-vis executive order or edict or proclamation or this is how I feel this morning. The fact is that there are procedures that they can follow. They got to go to Congress. You want to abolish the Department of Education. As horrible of an idea as I believe that is, you have to go through Congress to do that. So he's not only doing things that I think are harmful to the American people, he's doing them in a way that is harmful to our system of justice and democracy.
Keith Ellison blasts the notion of ruling by executive order, edict, or personal whim. If a president wants to abolish the Department of Education or push through massive changes, there's a legal path. Go through Congress. But what happens when the Attorney General serves as the president's personal lawyer instead of the people's lawyer? You get a Department of Justice twisted into a weapon of political retribution, a law firm for the president and his party. This is the dangerous deformation Jaime Raskin warned about.
But I want to ask you this, because in addition to the substantive defense of the rule of law and the Constitution you're engaged in, all of you are also modeling what it means to be an attorney general. Because we've got an attorney general of the United States who literally thinks her job is to be the president's lawyer and to do whatever the president wants her to do, and thinks that the Department of Justice is the law firm for the president and his political party. I mean, that's a remarkable deformation and diversion of American history.
The testimony from these state attorneys general wasn't just sharp criticism, it was a damning indictment. They exposed a Justice Department where political loyalty outweighed the Constitution. But the real shock was how openly Bondi's DOJ flaunted its corruption in plain sight. The hearing made one thing clear: the gravest threat wasn't a foreign adversary, but an attorney general who betrayed the very law she swore to uphold. She wasn't simply put on notice, she was caught, exposed, exposed and symbolically dragged out of Congress under the weight of her own corruption. And if that weren't enough, in another hearing, Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro delivered a brutal warning.
Instead, this administration breaks the law with reckless abandon. President Trump, and we must understand why your department is complicit in law-breaking from the highest office. I yield back.
The DOJ is meant to defend the rule of law, but under Bondi, it became an accomplice to lawbreaking at the very top. Watch this.
It slashes funding for the FBI, the Drug Enforcement Administration, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, limiting federal efforts to help our state and our local enforcement combat gun violence, drug trafficking, and organized crime. The budget also targets DOJ's foundational legal divisions, cutting funding for civil rights enforcement, environmental protection, and even, yes, national security. It takes an axe to grant programs and other programs that support domestic violence survivors and local police departments.
Hear that? She flat out exposed an administration working against the very good of this country. And Bondi didn't resist, she enabled it. She backed an agenda that left America weaker and more vulnerable. Then came the deeper betrayal. Programs protecting survivors of violence and supporting local police were gutted on her watch. Pam Bondi wasn't defending justice, she was dismantling it piece by piece. Don't miss this one.
It dismantles DOJ's tax division, which will only make it easier for prominent tax cheats to avoid prosecution, further increasing the burden on honest taxpayers who pay what they owe. They pay what they owe. Our largest corporations do not. And why on earth does your budget slash the Department of Justice's Office of the Inspector General by 30%? Does this administration want to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse or not? Our government's Inspector General are absolutely critical nonpartisan offices that help Congress and the American people eliminate and prevent that prevent fraud and corruption.
DeLauro exposed how slashing the DOJ's tax division shielded wealthy cheats while punishing honest taxpayers. But then she revealed an even bigger outrage, cutting the Inspector General's office, the very watchdogs who root out fraud and corruption. Pam Bondi didn't defend accountability, she undermined it. She wasn't portrayed as someone with different views, she was revealed as an enabler of outrageous overreach. And then came the gut punch. This wasn't about policy, it was about power, wielded to harm the American people.
The administration has directly undermined and even removed over a dozen of these offices across our government. Waste, fraud, and abuse are not the targets of the President Trump's White House. They are the primary objectives. This budget does not put the safety and security of the American people first. It puts white-collar criminals, drug traffickers, and violent offenders first, while eviscerating your department's ability to stop them. The Department of Justice exists to uphold the rule of law. The American people deserve assurance that everyone will be treated equally under the law. Instead, this administration breaks the law with reckless abandon.
DeLauro warned that Trump's White House wasn't cracking down on fraud and abuse, it was protecting it. And the budget went even further, gutting the very offices designed to hold power accountable. Then, she exposed how it crippled the DOJ's ability to pursue traffickers, criminals, and violent offenders. Pam Bondi didn't resist this assault on justice. She stood by and let it happen.
President Trump, like every other American, must follow the law. Russ Vought must follow the law. Secretaries Noem and Kennedy and McMahon must follow the law. And we must understand why your department is complicit in law-breaking from the highest office. I yield back.
DeLauro's message was clear. No one is above the law. Not Trump, not his aides, not his cabinet. But Bondi's DOJ behaved as if the rules didn't apply to them. By shielding power instead of checking it, she proved her loyalty was to Trump, not to the law. What's your take on all this? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.